This creature stands tall, its body wiry and lithe, muscles designed not for strength or bulk, but for pure efficiency. Every movement it makes is deliberate, precise, calculated. It doesn't waste a single drop of energy, as though its existence is dictated by a desire to conserve and optimize. Its limbs, long and slender, stretch effortlessly with grace and purpose, gliding through the sterile environment in which it exists. There's no need for speed, no need for brute force, just a perfect harmony of movement, a synchronization with its surroundings that makes it appear almost fluid. Its skin is a seamless dark canvas, a protective cloak born from an existence under a relentless, unforgiving sun. A sun whose rays are so intense, so deadly, that those who linger outside for too long are at risk of being burned to a crisp. The creature's skin has evolved to shield it from this solar onslaught, a smooth, unmarred surface that absorbs the harsh rays without a sign of wear. It is the embodiment of protection, a perfect suit that is as much a part of its biology as its skeletal structure. Yet for all its beauty and design, there's a coldness to this creature. Its face, though almost beautiful, is far removed from the warmth of human emotion. The symmetry of its features, almost perfect in proportion, speaks to a deliberate selection over generations, where each ancestor, choosing from a wide array of mates, has passed down this flawless visage. It is a face that might captivate, but it does not respond. No smile graces its lips, no flicker of recognition or reaction to those around it. The creature's gaze is distant, placid, devoid of the turmoil and emotions that once defined humanity. This is a being born of a society that has conquered disease and decay, a society that has transcended the frailties once considered natural. Its lifespan has been extended beyond what we can even imagine, eliminating the need for struggle, for survival, for the unpredictability of life. And yet, it is not without flaw. Though its face is a work of genetic perfection, the creature's brain, though small compared to ours, still holds the key to its existence. Despite its physical form, the brain, though smaller than the human brain, is the center of its universe. It is capable of processing and managing an incredible array of information, but it has also sacrificed certain aspects of emotional depth. The creature is a reflection of what humanity could become if we removed the rawness of our instincts, our emotions, and our animal nature. In this vision of the future, we see not a perfect being, but an entity shaped by both the brilliance and the limitations of its evolutionary journey. The future human is a being designed to endure, to survive, and to thrive in a world of absolute certainty. But even in this perfection, there are hints of the past. Its face may be beautiful, but it carries the weight of a history it no longer remembers, a history of tribal wars, survival, and the unpredictable forces of nature. And so we ask ourselves, what would it be like to live in a world where humanity's evolution had no need for the emotional highs and lows that come with our primitive instincts? Would we still be human? Would we even want to be? As we look to the future, the creature before us stands as both a mirror and a warning, showing us where we might go and reminding us of where we've been. This creature, standing before us in its sterile environment, is not just a fantasy. It is a projection of human evolution, a glimpse into what we might become should the course of our species continue down its current path. It is a being that embodies the ultimate refinement of our biological form, but not without the cost of certain inevitable imperfections, remnants of an ancient past that continue to shape us in ways we may not fully understand. Taller than humans today, with limbs that stretch in angular precision, this future being has evolved a physique built for efficiency. Its bones are thin, not designed to carry heavy burdens or withstand the stresses of a rugged existence, but rather to ensure swift, effortless movement through its sterile world. The creature's skeletal structure, refined and light, speaks of an era where energy is conserved, where muscle bulk is unnecessary, and where speed is no longer as valuable as efficiency. Its body is the product of millions of years of adaptation, reflecting the long march of human history, a history that has shaped us in countless ways, often in ways that no longer serve the needs of survival, but the comforts of a life free from struggle. Yet, despite this perfection of form, its brain, though smaller than our own, still retains the essence of what it means to be human. Once, our brains grew at an astonishing rate, enabling us to outthink, outlast, and outwit every creature on the planet. But now, as our world has become increasingly controlled and predictable, our brains have started to shrink. The need for raw cognitive power has diminished, as the tools and technologies we have created handle the complexities of life for us. In this future, the creature's mind is still capable, still sharp, but its physical form suggests that, like our ancestors, it is shaped by a society that no longer requires the constant use of its most primal faculties. This evolution has come with a price, though. The creature's physical form, while perfected for the modern world, is not flawless. Like humanity, it carries the burden of its past. The once mighty jaw, designed for powerful chewing and processing of raw foods, has become a narrow structure with teeth that crowd each other uncomfortably. The creature suffers from the same afflictions that we do today: jaw issues, dental problems, and the lingering effects of a body that was not perfectly adapted to its environment. The spine, too, is a relic of a time when walking on two legs was a constant struggle for balance and stability. Though the creature's posture is upright, its spine bears the marks of injury and strain, the result of a skeletal system once built for climbing and running, now tasked with standing and moving in a new, sedentary world. The vertebrae are more fragile than they should be, vulnerable to the kinds of injuries that our ancient ancestors would have been more resilient to. This is a body designed for comfort, but one that has paid the price for removing the need for survival's harsh lessons. Perhaps the most ironic flaw of all lies in the feet of the creature. Once designed to grip branches, to help the creature's ancestors climb and swing from tree to tree, the feet now resemble those of modern humans, rigid and ill-suited for the task. Too many bones remain, relics of a time when grasping and climbing were paramount. These bones are now unnecessary, awkwardly structured for a sedentary existence. The foot, rather than being an elegant and adaptive appendage, is a remnant of a past life that no longer serves its purpose, just as the creature itself is a remnant of our own history, a body that has evolved in response to a world it no longer fully fits. This future human-like creature, though fascinating in its precision, is not without its own contradictions. Its form is a reflection of the choices made by countless generations who sought comfort over struggle, efficiency over strength, and survival over the rawness of life. Yet in this quest for perfection, the body still carries the scars of evolution, remnants of a time when survival was defined by the fight for resources, the need to adapt quickly, and the necessity of physical prowess. As we look toward the future, we are left with questions. How will our bodies continue to evolve? Will we follow this path, shaping ourselves to a world that no longer requires the vigor and strength of our ancestors? Or will we find ourselves, like the creature before us, trapped in a body that was built for a different era, one that, despite its beauty and efficiency, can never truly escape its origins? The speculative future of humanity is not just about the triumph of the body. It is about reconciling the past with the present and understanding how far we are willing to go in our pursuit of perfection. As we peer into the future of human evolution, one question looms larger than all the rest. What will the human being of tomorrow look like? Will we evolve into something entirely unrecognizable, or will we continue to carry the same ancient blueprint we've carried for millions of years, albeit refined by time and necessity? To answer these questions, we must first understand where we come from, and one of the most significant pieces of this puzzle comes from the distant past. Sahelanthropus chadensis. Discovered in Chad in 2001, Sahelanthropus chadensis is considered by many to be one of the most crucial links between humans and our ancient ancestors, a species that might help bridge the gap between the apes and the first true humans. With a skull dating back about 7 million years, Sahelanthropus offers us a glimpse into a time when the line between hominins and other primates was just beginning to blur. This creature, with its combination of primitive and advanced traits, challenges everything we thought we knew about our evolutionary origins. Could Sahelanthropus be the missing link we've been searching for? Or is it just one piece of a much larger puzzle? Imagine for a moment that we are looking at the earliest hints of what would eventually become modern humans. Sahelanthropus had a relatively small brain, about the size of a chimpanzee's, yet its face was more human-like, with a flat nose and a pronounced brow ridge. Its posture, too, was an anomaly. Despite its ape-like features, Sahelanthropus may have walked on 2 legs, a trait that would later define the hominin lineage. This discovery raises an important question. Did our early ancestors begin walking upright because it was a biological necessity, or did they evolve this trait to adapt to a changing environment? If this species, with its combination of traits, was indeed the precursor to humanity, then perhaps our future evolution will be similarly unpredictable. An intricate dance between genetic necessity, environmental change, and sheer randomness. But what does all of this mean for the future of human evolution? Could the human being of tomorrow be a product of the same evolutionary forces that shaped Sahelanthropus? Or more likely, will we continue to refine ourselves, as Sahelanthropus did, into a creature suited to a new world? Looking forward, it's easy to imagine a future where human evolution doesn't follow a straight line from ape to man, but instead takes a more intricate path, one in which our evolution is shaped not only by biological imperatives but also by the technologies we create, the environments we build, and the choices we make as a species. Sahelanthropus provides a fascinating lens through which to view this speculative future. It's a reminder that the trajectory of human evolution has never been linear. Instead, it's been a complex interplay between adaptation, random mutation, and the gradual accumulation of small changes over time. Just as Sahelanthropus walked on 2 legs, leading it into the world of hominins, we too are at a crossroads. Will we continue to evolve physically to meet the demands of our environment, or will we evolve through our technology, enhancing ourselves not by changing our bodies, but by augmenting our minds and abilities? In the end, Sahelanthropus may not just be a link to our past, it could be a reflection of the unpredictability of human evolution itself, a reminder that the future, like the past, is never as simple as it seems. As we contemplate the fate of the human race, we must look to our roots, to the species that came before us, and ask, what path did they take, and what path are we on now? Will we evolve into creatures like Sahelanthropus, whose form is still a patchwork of primitive traits and advanced capabilities? Or will we follow a more radical path, redefining what it means to be human? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The journey of human evolution is far from over, and the future is a landscape that will continue to surprise us with its complexity and wonder. Imagine this. You're a naturalist in the 19th century, roaming the forests of Madagascar, observing the unique flora and fauna of this remote island. You come across a flower with an astonishing feature. Its nectar tube is over 1 foot long. You wonder, what kind of creature could possibly pollinate such a flower? It seems almost impossible for any known insect to reach the nectar hidden deep within such a tube. But in a stroke of brilliance, you make a prediction. Somewhere, out there, exists a moth with a tongue long enough to reach that nectar. And sure enough, years later, your prediction comes true. This is the story of Alfred Russel Wallace's famous foresight and the eventual discovery of Wallace's Sphinx moth. Wallace, a renowned British naturalist, is perhaps best known for co-developing the theory of natural selection alongside Charles Darwin. But beyond his contributions to evolutionary theory, Wallace had a knack for making predictions based on his observations. One of his most remarkable predictions was about the existence of a long-tongued moth in Madagascar. Wallace theorized that the island's giant orchid, which had a nectar tube nearly a foot long, must be pollinated by a species of moth with an equally long proboscis, an incredibly specialized adaptation that no known insect seemed to possess at the time. Wallace wrote in 1867 that such a moth could be found in Madagascar, just as astronomers searched for the planet Neptune. And then, in 1903, just as Wallace had predicted, the moth was discovered. It was named Xanthopan morgani praedictor, or Wallace's Sphinx moth, in honor of Wallace's remarkable foresight. The moth's proboscis, a long coiled tube, was indeed capable of reaching the nectar at the base of the flower's nectar tube. This was not just a random coincidence, but rather a perfect example of how evolution shapes creatures to fit their environments. The adaptation of the moth's long proboscis was a direct response to the flower's unique characteristics, and vice versa. Both species had evolved in tandem, each shaping the other over time. This evolutionary adaptation is a perfect example of what we call co-evolution. The moth and the orchid became locked in an intricate relationship, each evolving to meet the needs of the other. The orchid, by developing a long nectar tube, ensured that only insects with the proper adaptation, a long proboscis, could pollinate it. In turn, the moth, by evolving such a specialized feeding organ, became the perfect pollinator for this particular flower. It was a beautiful example of natural selection in action, with both species adapting to each other's presence in ways that ensured their mutual survival. But what's even more fascinating is how this discovery reflects the unpredictable and awe-inspiring nature of evolution itself. Evolution doesn't always follow a straight path. It's full of surprises, such as a moth with a tongue longer than most insects, perfectly designed to pollinate a flower with equally unique characteristics. This adaptation didn't happen by chance. It was the result of millions of years of evolution, where even the smallest change can have profound impacts on the species involved. Wallace's Sphinx moth serves as a reminder that evolution isn't just about survival of the fittest. It's about how life constantly adapts, innovates, and finds ways to thrive in the most unexpected ways. The relationship between the moth and the orchid highlights just how intricate the natural world is and how each species is, in some way, a part of a greater interconnected web of life. And as we look at this extraordinary example, we are reminded that, like Wallace's prediction, the wonders of evolution are often just waiting to be discovered, waiting for someone to make the right connections and unlock the mysteries of the natural world. Just as Wallace looked at the orchids of Madagascar and predicted the existence of a moth with a long proboscis, so too does evolution continue to surprise us with new wonders, even in the most unlikely places. In the deep, dark abyss of the ocean where sunlight dares not venture, exists a creature so bizarre that its way of life seems almost alien to us. The deep-sea anglerfish, with its haunting bioluminescent lure and grotesque appearance, is one of nature's most peculiar examples of sexual dimorphism. In fact, their mating ritual is so strange, it challenges our conventional ideas of what a relationship looks like in the animal kingdom. In most species, males and females maintain a relatively equal relationship, each with their own roles in reproduction. But not with the anglerfish. In a twist of evolutionary ingenuity, the males of the species are much smaller than their female counterparts, often only a fraction of their size, and are entirely reliant on the females for survival. Males, rather than pursuing a typical courtship, will fuse their bodies with females, effectively becoming nothing more than a pair of gonads permanently attached to the female, who, at the heart of this strange process, is the survival of the species in the harsh environment of the deep sea. The male anglerfish lacks the physical strength and predatory skills of the female. So, Rather than hunting for food, it seeks out a female to latch onto and fuse with, a process known as sexual parasitism. The male's tissues and organs gradually merge with the female's body, and over time, the male loses most of its original structure. All that remains is a tiny, barely distinguishable portion that provides sperm when the female is ready to reproduce. This unusual method of reproduction is an extreme example of sexual dimorphism, where the males and females of a species look drastically different and perform entirely different roles. While the female anglerfish grows to be large, predatory, and capable of hunting prey, the male becomes a tiny, parasitic entity whose sole function is to fertilize the female's eggs. It's a bizarre but effective solution for life in an environment where food is scarce and finding a mate can be a challenge. Now, you might be wondering, what does this have to do with us? How does human evolution compare to such a strange creature? While humans obviously don't have such extreme examples of sexual dimorphism, the concept of evolution shaping our bodies and behaviors in surprising ways is something we share with the anglerfish. In the same way that the deep-sea anglerfish adapted to its environment by developing an unconventional method of reproduction, humans have evolved in ways that reflect the pressures of our environment, society, and biology. Take, for example, human sexual dimorphism. While not nearly as extreme as the anglerfish, there are still noticeable differences between men and women, especially in terms of size, strength, and reproductive roles. Evolution has shaped these differences to optimize survival and reproduction in different ways, though in our species, the focus has been on the ability to form complex social bonds, communicate, and cooperate. Unlike the anglerfish, where reproduction is a solitary parasitic event, human reproduction is part of a larger social structure, one that requires cooperation, communication, and mutual care between partners. Yet, in both cases, the evolutionary pressures on the species have driven unique adaptations that ensure survival and reproduction. In the case of the anglerfish, the male's parasitic fusion to the female maximizes the chances of successful reproduction in an environment where finding a mate is an arduous task. In human evolution, we have seen a shift towards more complex social structures, with interdependence playing a crucial role in the survival of the species. The deep-sea anglerfish's sexual dimorphism, while incredibly unusual, serves as a powerful reminder that evolution is full of unexpected and often strange solutions to the challenges of survival. Just as the anglerfish has found its way in one of the most extreme environments on Earth, humans have adapted to thrive in diverse and often unpredictable environments, relying on cooperation, intelligence, and the strength of our social bonds. In the grand scheme of evolutionary traits, we can see that nature's ingenuity knows no bounds, whether it's the extreme sexual dimorphism of the anglerfish or the cooperative, interdependent relationships that define human survival. The anglerfish reminds us that evolution doesn't always work in ways we expect, but it always finds a way to adapt to the challenges at hand. In the animal kingdom, the majority of species have eyes that are either entirely dark or feature little contrast between the colored part of the eye and the white sclera. Yet humans are unique in one striking feature: our large white sclera, the white part of the eye. In most species, the sclera is either not visible or is pigmented to blend seamlessly with the surrounding eye structures. But in humans, the sclera stands out, creating a significant contrast with the iris. This seemingly simple trait may appear insignificant at first, but in fact, it plays a crucial role in how we communicate, cooperate, and navigate the social world. So, why do humans have such an unusual feature compared to other species? The answer lies in our evolutionary history and the role of social interaction in human survival. Our large sclera, visible even when our pupils are dilated, serves as an important communication tool. This evolutionary trait is believed to have developed to enhance our ability to communicate non-verbally, particularly in social situations where subtle cues are essential. In the world of humans, where cooperation and trust are vital to our survival, The sclera helps us form stronger bonds with others by making our intentions clearer. In highly social animals like humans, understanding where others are focusing their attention can mean the difference between cooperation and conflict. The large white sclera makes it easy for others to determine where we're looking, allowing us to engage in non-verbal communication that can help build trust and align our goals. For example, when two humans are in conversation, the movement of our eyes, specifically the direction of our gaze, can provide context to our words. If we glance at something in the environment, our companion immediately understands where our attention is focused. This is particularly important when navigating group dynamics, where social cues can dictate how we interact with one another. Our white sclera also aids in the communication of emotions. Unlike many animals, whose eyes are mostly dark or have limited contrast, humans can convey subtle emotional expressions through their eyes. A raised eyebrow, a quick glance, or a widened stare, all of these signals are made more effective by the stark contrast between the sclera and the iris. In a society that depends on emotional intelligence and empathy, these cues allow us to communicate complex feelings without uttering a word. But the function of our sclera isn't just about communication. It also reflects the evolutionary pressures of living in a social species. Over time, human survival depended not only on our physical strength and cognitive abilities, but on how effectively we could cooperate and form alliances with others. Early humans who were able to read the intentions and emotions of others, or signal their own intentions effectively, were more likely to succeed in group endeavors. Whether it was hunting together, protecting one another from predators, or simply sharing resources, clear communication was key. The sclera played a central role in this social evolution, allowing humans to more effectively navigate the complex world of human relationships. Interestingly, this trait is virtually absent in most other species. For example, most primates, our closest relatives, have a smaller sclera and less visible eye movement. In many species, this lack of contrast in the eye makes it difficult for individuals to communicate or even discern the gaze of others. In contrast, for humans, the evolution of visible sclera gives us a distinct edge in social interaction. It makes us more aware of one another's focus, intentions, and emotional states, contributing to our ability to cooperate and work together. But, as with all evolutionary traits, the prominence of the sclera wasn't without its costs. For example, the visibility of our eyes makes it easier for predators to spot us. But in a highly social and cooperative species, the benefits of improved communication outweighed the risks. The evolution of the sclera underscores an important principle of natural selection. Traits that enhance survival in a specific ecological or social context tend to flourish, even if they might have drawbacks in other areas. So while the large white sclera might seem like an insignificant feature compared to more dramatic evolutionary traits, its role in human social behavior is profound. It's one of the key components that allowed humans to become the deeply social creatures we are today, capable of complex emotional interactions, collaboration, and non-verbal communication. It's just one more example of how evolution, in its infinite wisdom, equips species with traits tailored to their survival and success in a particular environment, whether that's the deep sea, the African savanna, or the intricate web of human relationships. The appendix, a small, seemingly insignificant pouch attached to the large intestine, has long puzzled scientists. Today, it's often regarded as a vestigial organ, one that serves little to no purpose in modern human biology. Yet this small structure has a long evolutionary history, inherited from our herbivorous ancestors, and its presence in the human body speaks volumes about our evolutionary journey. To understand the appendix's evolutionary purpose, we must first look back at the dietary habits of our distant ancestors. Early hominins, before the rise of modern humans, had a much different diet compared to what we consume today. They were primarily herbivorous, relying on plant-based foods like leaves, fruits, and vegetables. These foods are rich in fiber, but also difficult to digest. The digestive systems of early primates and mammals, were adapted to break down these tough, fibrous foods, and the appendix played a crucial role in this process. In herbivores, the appendix functioned as a fermentation chamber. The process of fermentation helped break down cellulose, the complex carbohydrate found in plant cell walls. The bacteria in the appendix would help digest these fibrous materials, allowing early humans to extract more nutrients from their plant-heavy diet. In this context, the appendix was far from useless. It was an essential part of the digestive process, aiding in the breakdown of plant matter and helping our ancestors make the most of their food. However, as humans evolved and began to incorporate more meat into their diet, the role of the appendix gradually diminished. Over time, our digestive systems became more efficient at processing protein and fat, and the need for an organ dedicated to fermenting plant matter became less critical. While our ancestors still retained the appendix, it slowly lost its original function. In modern humans, the appendix has largely lost its digestive role, though some researchers believe it may still serve as a refuge for beneficial gut bacteria. When the body's gut flora is disrupted, whether due to illness or antibiotics, the appendix may act as a safe haven for good bacteria, which can repopulate the intestines once the infection or disruption is cleared. In this sense, the appendix might have evolved a secondary function, acting as a backup storehouse for gut microbiota. Despite this possible secondary function, the appendix is generally considered vestigial, meaning it's a remnant of a once useful organ that no longer serves a critical role. This is a common feature of evolution, where certain traits and structures are passed down from ancestors, but become less necessary as a species adapts to new environmental or dietary conditions. Just as the tailbone, coccyx in humans, is a vestige of a tail used by our mammalian ancestors, the appendix is a remnant of our herbivorous past. Yet the fact that the appendix persists in modern humans raises an intriguing question. Why has it not been eliminated entirely through natural selection? The answer lies in the principle of evolutionary trade-offs. While the appendix no longer serves a critical function in digestion, it may not be harmful enough to be eliminated. In evolutionary terms, if an organ or trait doesn't significantly impact an organism's ability to survive and reproduce, it may persist despite being less useful. Interestingly, the appendix can become problematic when it becomes inflamed, a condition known as appendicitis. In such cases, the appendix becomes painful and may rupture, leading to life-threatening infections. Despite the potential for harm, appendicitis is relatively rare, and the appendix's lack of function does not seem to outweigh its potential risks in the evolutionary scale. In this way, the appendix is one of those fascinating examples of evolutionary history, where an organ once essential to survival has been left behind as humans adapted to a different lifestyle and diet. The evolutionary trajectory of the appendix also highlights the flexibility of evolution. Rather than creating a perfect organism with no unnecessary parts, evolution works by tinkering with existing structures, refining them over time. The appendix is not the result of a new invention, but rather a feature that persisted because it was once useful, but didn't hinder survival once its primary function was no longer necessary. Today we can look at the appendix not just as a vestigial organ, but as a reminder of our evolutionary past, a small organ that has survived because, in the grand scheme of things, it hasn't hindered us, despite no longer being crucial. The appendix, much like other vestigial organs, is a relic of our ancestors, showing us how our bodies have changed over millions of years. And while it may not have a clear purpose in modern humans, its presence is a testament to the fascinating adaptive power of evolution.